Hello, hello. Welcome to Mindset to Results. And today our guest is Dr. Larry Waldman. He is clinical forensic psychologist, and today we will speak about the topic which is important for entrepreneurs and business owners: how to be open for the opportunities. Hi, Dr. Larry.
Hello, thanks for having me.
You are most welcome. You have such a great experience, and today we will speak about different topics which are related to entrepreneurship and success in the business world. Uh, Before we start, could you please share your heart story? What maybe happened in your life that helped you to understand the importance of keeping the door open for the opportunities and embrace the challenges, because it is always something good behind.
Sure, be glad to. Uh, I was in practice in Phoenix, Arizona, for 45 years. The first half of that, I did a very traditional kind of practice where I saw clients, patients all day long, dealing with typical things, marriage, stress, depression, kids, and so forth. And I was paid through the insurance, through their insurance. After about 25 years of uh, that was pretty much at the turn of the century, so at about 2000, I was getting a little tired of it. It was frankly getting a little boring. I think I may have experienced a little compassion fatigue, if you will. And
Mhm.
I felt I needed to break out. Besides, what what the insurance was paying was enough to allow me to pay my bills and things like that. But frankly, it wasn't enough to make a nest egg, if you will. And I could see that in another 15, 20 years, I was going to retire and I needed to, frankly, earn more money. And I started to think about ways that I could better monetize my time. Um, and then this case occurred, which basically changed my career. Um, a gentleman came in and said that his young adult daughter, about a year before, had been in a terrible car crash. A drunk driver had crossed over the line and smashed into her, and she needed a lot of treatment. She was in ICU for a while. She was on the ward for a couple of weeks and so on. And he said to me that it's been a little over a year since the accident, and physically she seemed to him to be okay, but he wasn't sure if she was okay mentally. And so he asked me to meet with her and determine that, because their attorney was saying maybe they should settle, and that the other driver's insurance company was making a reasonable offer. So I said, sure, I'd be glad to see her. Well, I did a week later, and it didn't take 10 minutes to recognize that she was still very disturbed. She had what we now call today post traumatic stress disorder.
Mhm.
In fact, she she thought she was going crazy. She thought the accident had damaged her brain because she was so fearful. She was making a lot of maladaptive adjustments. Like, for example, she wouldn't drive at night anymore. So that meant she couldn't really socialize much. She could only drive alone. She wanted no one else in the car for whatever reason, and so on. And she lost out on on raises at work because she needed to get home while it was still light. So she wouldn't work any overtime and things like that. And of course, like I said, she's not socializing with friends and so forth. I mean, she's a young woman. That's what they want to do. She didn't want to do any of that. Fear of driving at night or being in a car at night, which of course is when the accident occurred, at night. Well, because prior to the accident, she was normal. When I shared with her that she had what I referred to was a normal response to an abnormal situation, and that she was not going crazy, that this was a natural reaction that she was having, she began to realize, okay, I'm going to be okay. And I saw her for about 8 to 10 sessions. And at that point, she was basically herself again. And I wrote a report which documented her mental disability or her mental damage as well as the physical damage. And what ultimately happened was, oh, by the way, while I was doing that, I got a letter from her chiropractor who said to me, I don't know what you've been doing with her, but she's made more progress chiropractically, in the last month or so while she's seeing you than she's had the last year. Well, but that makes sense. If you think you're going crazy and you think you're going insane, it's hard to relax your back. You understand? So at the end, after I wrote the report, I had several people pleased with me. Okay. First, the client, she was happy. She was normal again. Secondly, her father was happy. He saw his daughter back again. He said, I have my baby girl back again. Okay. The attorney was happy because with my report, I increased the award, by almost 50%, which of course he's getting almost half, of course. So I made him a bunch of money. And by the way, I also made the chiropractor happy. So when the case was over, it was settled and so on, I said to myself, well, that was very nice. I'd like to do more of that. Now, many of my colleagues, other mental health providers, would probably have said the same thing, okay, and they would have sat back and waited, hopefully, for other cases like this to appear. I didn't. I took the reins, if you will, and I saw an opportunity here And that's what I mean by being aware of the opportunities. And I made a call to a personal injury attorney that I knew casually, but he was one of the major ones in town. I invited him to lunch. During lunch, I told him about this case, and he listened very intently, and he said to me, "Wow, our office could keep you busy full time." And I said, "Well, great. I'd be glad to work with you." And then I said, "Paul, I'd like one other favor, if you don't mind." And he said, "What's that?" And he said, "Well, I know that you are the director of the personal injury department with the Arizona Bar Association." And he looked at him and he said, "Oh, you want to talk to my group?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "Done." So 3 months later or so, I'm standing in front of 65 personal injury attorneys and discussing the topic, recognizing and managing post-traumatic stress disorder in the personal injury client. And my practice exploded. So now, instead of making what the insurance company was paying me, like $70 a session, if the insurance was good, and sometimes it wasn't. Now I'm making $270 an hour working in the legal arena. And that's what started the last half of my practice in the legal, or we call it forensic area. But I didn't stop there, because there was another professional, if you remember, that was happy with my work, and that was the other chiropractor. And I called him, and I spoke to him, and I thanked him for his nice letter. And I told him that his client was, his patient was doing well, and that I had finished my work with them and so on. And then I said to him, "Do you think some of your colleagues would be interested in this case?" And he said, "Absolutely. We get accident victims all the time. Of course, we don't deal with the emotional part. That's what you did." And I said, "Do you think you could let your president of your association know about this? And maybe I could speak to the group." And he said, "It's ironic, but this weekend I'm playing golf with him." And so about 6 months later or so, I was the keynote speaker for the Arizona Chiropractic Annual Convention, Association Annual Convention. And again, you can see what happened to my practice. So this is what I mean by being open to the possibilities. Something occurred. I saw the results, but then I didn't just stand back and hope that more of it would come. I made more of it come. As a matter of fact, once I got involved in this legal work, I even expanded that. And so the last 20 years or so of my practice was quite successful.
Great. Yes. Thank you for sharing from your experience. It is very a good story to learn from this, from what you did. to expand opportunities. And you have such a big experience in your psychological practice, yeah, working with people. So let's discuss what are the most common problems that business owners and entrepreneurs face in their daily life.
Well, one, I think that there a lot of business owners are reluctant uh, to open new doors, um, like what I just described. They don't feel they have enough time. Uh, they're, I think sometimes they're frankly scared uh, to open a door because they're not sure what's going to happen. I like the expression, don't close a door on an opportunity until you have to. Yes, there have been times where something came up and I explored it. I always explored it, but ultimately it became a dead end, or I realized there isn't as much value in it as maybe I thought. So then I would close the door. But there were many times in my career, particularly the latter half, where I saw a possible opportunity. I extended myself. I moved forward, and some of the best things that happened to me and are still happening to me, even in my semi-retirement, are based on basically sticking my neck out, if you will, going after opportunities. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every time I did, it was successful. Absolutely not. More time, probably, to be honest, more times not than they were. But the opportunities that materialized were extremely important to me, and in some cases are important to me even to this day.
Yes, it is important to keep that door open. So let's speak about this more. Many people believe that in order to make decision about something, like getting opportunity, accepting that, they have to know the process. They have to know how to do that. Yes, that is not right. So let's speak about this. Why it is not right to know the process and thinking that I have to know how to get that, and if they don't find the answers to the questions how to do that, they just think that, oh, maybe it is not right time, maybe I have to wait. So let's speak about this more.
It's interesting you say that. I refer to that as ready, fire, aim, because what 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 happens many times is that the small business owner sees an opportunity perhaps, but is again fearful. What if I fail? I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do. It's a new thing, and so they close the door because they don't feel comfortable. Well, you know, sometimes what you have to do is open the door, step in, and then as you're there, you work your way through it. So, so many people do so much aiming. That it's like get ready, aim, fire. They're all they're doing is aiming and aiming and aiming and aiming. They're never firing because they don't feel comfortable. They don't feel like they know it all. They don't want to make a mistake. They're not sure it's going to work out, and so on. So sometimes as I said, you've got to be ready. You fire, and then you aim, and then you work it. And that offers many more opportunities to people than some that are than many that take. I see it all the time in my own patients. I used to see it. There would be why didn't you do why they say, well, I didn't do that. I don't know. It didn't look right. And the truth is, they're afraid of failure. Fear of failure is a big one. For some people, it's fear like maybe I don't deserve it, and so on. I remember working with a client that was a supervisor for a small business, and the owner was about to close the business down and retire. And I said to the client, you've been his right-hand man for 20 years. Why don't you work something out with him about taking over the business? And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, who knows this business better than you? And he goes, well, finally, I coaxed him into it, and he did it. And he later on wrote me back and said, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm making more money than I ever dreamed of before. But he was going to be ready to just walk away. Well, there's an opportunity. Take it. At least go for it. In fact, when I suggested that you could, make a deal with the owner that, if he, instead of just closing it down, turn it over to you, you could make certain payments back. I mean, he's going to make more money without even working. I mean, come on. It's a deal for both of you.
Mm-hmm.
But if it weren't for me, he would have left and looked for another job, missing that opportunity completely.
Yes, you said right that people are so comfortable to be in their comfort zone that they miss opportunities because they just can, they want to be safe. You have to play safe. And this playing safe, actually, it is what is not safe at all. Yes, because if we stay in our comfort zone, we don't grow, because the growth and everything what we dream about, which is outside of what we have now, it is all requires the growth, and growth is always requires coming out of comfort zones, starting doing something new, that stepping into unknown. And this is the only way how success is built. And people sit and look at others and say, oh, they're lucky, they did that, they did that. But actually there is nothing like a luck, because this is just people who are ready to do what is uncomfortable, and despite of their feelings, their fears and doubts, they take action, they break through that fears doubts wall, and this is how success is built.
Absolutely. Can't agree with you more. Uh, as you know, I've written 8 books, and one of them is entitled Too Busy Earning a Living to Make Your Fortune. And that's exactly what you've just shared, what you just talked about. That's what's happening. People get stuck in the safety zone. They don't love it, but it's safe. And so even though they end up doing the same thing day after day and so on, they're afraid to break out. Oh my God, if I do something different, I'm going to lose my salary. What if I fail? And so on and so forth. But that's what makes success, is to taking a considered risk. And so, yeah, look, you're never going to see me skydiving. That's some people say that's fun, but okay, I'm not going to risk my life for a cheap thrill. There's some things I'm not going to do. On the other hand, there were a lot of things that I did do as a psychologist that most mental health providers don't do. And those things that I did, working with all different kinds of attorneys in different areas and so on, and exploring new areas and so forth, frankly, made a huge difference, in my life. It made it more interesting, for sure. I enjoyed the work, for sure. It was challenging, and so on. And honestly, I wouldn't have been able to afford the things that I was able to do.
Yes, thank you for sharing. And let's speak about making decision because it is so related to the topic which we discuss. How is important to make decision from the place where you want to be instead of from the place where you are now.
Well, that's of course a hard one. Yes, it is a challenge. Um, you again have to look at the possibilities. Many times, clients would talk about past decisions, that may have not have worked out, and so on, and they kind of beat themselves up, and I would go through that process with them, and ultimately I would say, it sounds to me like, given the situation that you had at the time as you knew it, you would have made the same decision. And that's all we can do. We can't second guess ourselves. What we can do, of course, is obviously research, do our due diligence, as we call it, and so on. So we're not just jumping off a cliff and hoping we can find a branch on the way down, and so on. But sometimes you have to do that. Every successful person has taken some risks. If they played it straight the whole time, probably not. You can work a 9 to 5 hourly job, and so on. If that's what you want, that's fine, and so on, and so on. That's safe. You know what your salary is going to be, and so on. There are lots of psychologists who I talk to who work for like a community agency or things like that, and the reason they do that, and they tell me at the end of the month they know exactly how much they're going to make. Well, when you're in private practice, you don't know. Every month is different. You might have a good month and see lots of patients, and everyone's paid their bill, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes not, and so on. It's different. But overall, of course, typically the private therapist makes a lot more than the therapist working for an agency.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to stay safe, you want to know you have a job, and you want to know how much you're making, then that's what you do.
Yeah, so let's speak about why uh, embracing uncertainty helps to grow your business.
Well, as we're saying, I mean, there are risks, calculated risks. I mean, that's the point. As I said to you, I started in the forensic or legal area in obviously in the personal injury realm. Okay, but I didn't stop there. I moved into family law. I even did estate planning work. Uh, I even did immigration work. So once I saw that there were these opportunities potentially, I took the risk, to move in that direction. Again, like I said, it was ready, fire, aim.
Mhm. Yeah, by other words, if your value is being shortened, if the value is certainty, it will keep you stuck because you will just continue losing opportunities, missing opportunities because they will seem that you have to lose your certainty. Yeah, that's why entrepreneurial mindset should be to direction of embracing uncertainty, because where is uncertainty, there is the space to grow, there is the space where you can discover potential which is in you, you can be creative, you can come with different ideas. And if you have the big goal which scares you at the same time and excites you, this is the only way to achieve that goal, is to embrace challenges, embrace failure, embrace uncertainty, because this is the way how you will grow, how you will learn, and how you will make those horizon bigger. Because everybody, whatever we achieved in life, we look it at life through the prism of our consciousness, and our consciousness is based only on our experience, our awareness, based on our beliefs. And if we stay in our comfort zone, we will just operate at the same loop. And if we think the same, feel the same, do the same, we will get the same results. So if we are not very happy about results, and if you really think that you can be more, do more, and have more, the only way is to question those beliefs. For example, that I have to have certainty, yeah, or I have to like protect my family, and I cannot make decisions if I don't know how to do. It's because this is the way how to get to that stagnation, because nothing stays the same. We all grow, develop, overcome challenges, find out new ways, find out new opportunities, or we go backwards. Yeah, nothing stays the same. If you think that, oh, you just get something and you feel this safe and you don't want to do anything out of comfort zone, you will not stay the same, because economy changes, everything changes, and nothing stays the same. You go or to grow, or you go to down, like downhill.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's again why I keep saying being open to the possibilities. I'll, as you were talking, and which I agree with wholeheartedly. Again, way back during this time, my secretary says there's a director of a hospital, a psychiatric hospital, that's on the line and wants to talk to you. I went, yeah, yeah. What about? Right. So I pick up, I take the call, and he tells me that he is in charge of a psychiatric hospital, a new one in town, and that he was given my name to to help manage the non-medical personnel there, the therapists, counselors there, and so on. There was a medical director who, by the way, was someone I knew, who gave him my name, and the medical director was managing the psychiatrists who have MDs, but there were also therapists and counselors that had PhDs or MA degrees, and they needed someone to manage them. And this person said, "Could I take you to lunch and talk about it?" And my first reaction is, what? I, I've not done much work in a hospital, and I've never been a manager of other therapists. And I was inclined to go, and then I went, hey, I'm closing the door here before I know what I'm doing. And I said, sure, I'll have lunch with you. And I did. And that turned out to be one of the greatest things I ever did. Because ultimately, what that resulted in was not only did I become a consultant to that hospital, but I began to speak in their marketing department. And then I learned that that hospital was part of a chain of almost 90 other hospitals across the country, which ultimately I spoke at many of them for the next decade or more. And that unleashed my speaking career. So had I not taken that phone call, had I not gone to lunch, had I not said, okay, I'll try it. You know, I'm ready. I'll fire and then I'll aim. I would have lost out on a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. Probably that phone call in the end earned me close to $500,000.
Mm. Yeah, great example how to embrace the new opportunities and not hearing that inner voice which always wants to hold us back to protect us. So let's speak about this a little more, that we have that inner voice all the time, and it is like we have two personalities in us, like two voices. One voice is saying like, oh, that is a great idea, let's do that, yes, let's figure it out how to do it, let's make that bold decision. And at the same time there is another voice that says, no, who you think you are, nobody did this. In your family, for example, you need this skill, you don't have that, you are not enough. So let's speak this like this, a battle between two voices, and how to make that voice which comes from our higher self to win this battle, and not listen to the voice which limiting us and just holds us back and keeps us stuck.
That's exactly what I talk about in the book, about keeping yourself stuck. Uh, this is an example of what we refer to as cognitive psychology. And cognitive psychology basically says, what we think or what we tell ourselves determines how we feel and what we do. And you're absolutely right. All of us have these voices, if you will, not like we're hearing voices, but these thoughts in our head that either lead us, move us, or not. I mean, just like when I took that phone call, I was had two thoughts. What is this? I don't do work in psychiatric hospitals. I've not done that before. I've not overseen therapists' work before. What is he asking me to do? I mean, that seems pretty foreign to me. It's something I don't really know that much about. I could fail. It could be terrible. So, yes. So you have to deal with that and recognize again. That's what life is about if you're going to be successful. is, I was talking with someone the other day. My wife and I like to travel overseas frequently. And his response was, "Oh, travel internationally? You're kidding? Yeah, there's a lot of work. Different food, different people, foreign language. What if you get lost?" Well, see, that's where he stands. He likes to keep it safe. In fact, he goes to Hawaii every summer, same 2 weeks. Every year he's done it for 25 years. Okay, Hawaii's nice. Certainly, I've been there twice in my lifetime. But that's it. He plays it safe. His wife would like to go someplace else, but no, no. The only vacation he takes is Hawaii. That's as far as he's going to go. Yeah. Well, okay. Meanwhile, my wife and I have seen the world. And yes, have there been times, we got into a little, okay, we're lost, this, or whatever, yeah, sure, but that's part of it. Meanwhile, we've seen all of Europe, much of Asia, and so on. A little bit of South America. We're going to do more, and so on. So, yeah, again, you choose.
Yes, and our brain, that little voice, is just coming from the place of known things. It operates just from the past, what we experienced in the past, what is known to us, and it is just afraid of something unknown. And because future hasn't been experienced yet, this is just normal reaction to keep us protected and keep us safe. And if people really want to grow business, it is all in the future, right? All the actions should be taken from the future. So we have to be comfortable with doing uncomfortable things. This is the rule of success. If you really want to be successful, if you want to have those audacious goals achieved, it is must to have this mindset to get comfortable with doing uncomfortable, to get comfortable with doing things which require the strength, to get out of comfort zone, to maybe go through something that you don't want to do, but you know that this is what will get you to success. And if you know the nature of these voices, that one is coming from your intuition, from your spirit, which knows in the future where you want to be, from your higher self, and it always shows you the way how to be more, how to have more, how to do more. Yes, and our spirit always wants to be expressed. It wants to grow. Yes, to be expressed, uh, to discover new things in life, because it comes from our future selves and knows what is possible. And our brain operates from the past, only what we know. And that is why always there is an inner dialogue. And when we know the nature of these two voices, and we are ready to know that there will be that voice, little voice, which will always push us back, but it is also always depends on us what we decide. And what helps us to make decisions and go into unknown is to having big goals, big audacious goals, having that burning desire. This is important to set big goals, something that is much more bigger than we think is possible, that we experienced in the past. Because if we have those big goals and burning desire, it will help us to get excited more than to be fearful. Yes, because it is always between what I will get and what I have go through. Yes, so if we see the big picture, that what we really want, and it will excite us bigger than what I have to do, like that fears and doubts, this is how we will get through that wall of doubt and fear, and we'll start seeing the results of our decisions, of our stepping into uncomfortable zone, into unknown. And when we make this habit to do something that is not comfortable, and we will see that it works, that it gives us new opportunities, this is how we will feed that voice from our higher self. And as there are two wolves, yes, always battle. And if we feed the right wolf, that wolf will win.
Right. Back to that case that I referred to, where this gentleman was the superintendent of this business. Um, he, he knew the business backwards and forward. He did. Now, maybe not the financial part so much, but the actual workings of the business. He'd been doing it. He was hiring and firing. He was overseeing all the work and so on. But nevertheless, he saw himself as a worker bee, okay? Where he was always taking orders from the top. It never occurred to him. It never occurred to him that when the owner said, "I'm going to close the business down, I'm retiring," that he could say, "Well, I would take over the business." It just, to me, and and like you said, like you were just saying, as soon as he told me this, bam, it's the first thing I thought. While he's talking to me, hey, take over the business. I mean, bam, just like that. That's the first thing that entered my mind, you see, because that's the way I think, but it never dawned on him. In fact, what did it is that I told him that I'd like to see him next week with his wife. And she too kind of had a blue collar job, if you will. And I started speaking to them together about this. And it was her that she kind of punched him in the shoulder and said, "Bob, you need to do this. We need to do this." And he looked at her and said, "It's a big risk." She said, "I know, but I received Christmas cards from them for the next 10 years. Every year they'd send me a gorgeous card, sometimes a bottle of wine, whatever, thanking me for pushing them to do it, because it opened a door, and they made more money than they ever dreamed of.
Yeah. Amazing story, Dr. Larry. Thank you so much. So, before we wrap up this episode, what would be one thing that you would like to share with people who listen to us? Maybe your best advice from your practice, from your life experience to our audience.
I think we've pretty well covered it. It is don't be afraid to fail. That's what it's all about. There's no one out there who's been successful who hasn't failed at a number of things. I think, truthfully, we learn more from our failures than our successes. When we do something that's successful, yeah, we keep doing more of that, but we don't really grow. When we fail, the smart person goes, okay, that didn't work. Now, why did that happen, and what can I do differently? And that makes us grow.
Yeah, exactly. Embrace the failure, learn lessons, and embrace the opportunities, because new opportunities open the door, and one door opens another seven doors. You never know. Yeah, because when you make decision, you flip your brain to that frequency. You're already in the process. Yeah, you are not here anymore doubting and thinking. You're already there. So put yourself there, put yourself in the process, and then other doors will open and you will see how to do when you already making your first steps. So yes, thank you so much, Dr. Larry.
Thank you for the opportunity. Um, I appreciate the chance to talk about this.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward for our future episodes. You have such a great life experience and practice as a psychologist, and so much to share with the world. So definitely we will have another interview in future.
Forward to it.